Kings of War Battle Report, Abyssals versus Northern Alliance. 2,000 points. The scenario was invade. Alright, this is my newer Abyssal army. It has 2 regiments of Abyssal Guards with Imps and the weapon upgrade, 2 regiments of Abyssal Ghouls, 2 hordes of Molochs, one with Striding, both with Imps, and one with the Pipes of Terror. 1 regiment of Abyssal Horsemen with the Potion of the Caterpillar, an Abyssal Fiend, 3 Abyssal Warlocks, and of course Baal. This is the latest iteration of my Abyssal list. A couple of people pointed out that I didn't have enough combat power, so I swapped out some stuff and got a regiment of Abyssal Horsemen. In fact, my new models for my Abyssal Horsemen just arrived this week, but I haven't had a chance to put them together yet. The Abyssal Fiend is in the list now. It's okay. I mean, for 175 points, it's not bad at all. But I really like the 3 Abyssal Warlocks and, of course, Baal. Alright, we're on to deployment. And this time, instead of waiting myself like I have the last couple of times or splitting them up, I decided to just have a nice, solid front of troops, using that hill as a pick to maybe get some flank charges or something in. And so the way I set up was I set up with Molochs supporting 2 regiments of Ghouls and 2 regiments of Abyssal Guard. They were also supported by an Abyssal Warlock. In the very middle I had the Fiend by himself because he has Inspiring and he can inspire both the Molochs and the Ghouls. The other unit of Molochs is there with another Abyssal Warlock in support. And then the Abyssal Horseman with yet another Abyssal Warlock in support. And then lastly, Baal was over behind the house. There wasn't any missile fire on this my right side of the table, so I really didn't have to worry about Baal getting shot, so I could just kind of leave him out at the start of the turn. Over on the other side of the table, we have a regiment of Elf Clansmen. Of course, they're archers, and then a big unit of Clansmen. I think that's a Thane or a Scald behind the unit, but I wasn't for sure. And he had 2 bolt throwers. Yet another unit of Clansmen, a Lord on a Frostfang, and then a whole group of Frostfangs, and then yet another Elf Clansman unit. They're a pretty good unit for grabbing an objective or something like that and holding it. Then the Lord on Chimera, and he is a kick-ass model. I mean, he is just death incarnate. He's one of the really good ones in the game. And then last thing over on the right side was the Tundra Wolves, and they are lightning fast and are really good for getting across the table to take objectives and to score points with. So good deployment on both sides. We'll just have to see how the battle goes. So I moved forward generally and just kind of stay online, and that was my plan. But the Abyssal Fiend did move up behind the hill and take a right turn. And that's if something charges one of these other units, the Abyssal Fiend can get in there and do some damage. Everything else just kind of moved up. One of the Abyssal Warlocks moved forward close enough to shoot one of the Elf Clansman regiments, and then between them and Baal, they did 6 wounds and wavered it before that unit even moved. So that was a good thing. Other than that, it was just pretty standard first turn. So Polly didn't move a whole lot this turn. He just was content to shoot at me a little bit. One of his the wavered unit did back up, try to get out of range of the Abyssal Warlock, because it only has a range of 18 inches. So you don't want to. I mean, it's pretty easy to get out of its range, because I mean I was moved way out there to get it. But on the other hand, I hope somebody would charge it, then I'd kill him. I mean, you don't want Abyssal Horsemen and Molochs and Abyssal Fiend charging. I don't care what unit you are. It'll put a hurt on you. Both of his bolt throwers, I don't know what they're called, things hit my Abyssal Warlock in the field, and I managed to bring it up to 4 wounds, but he successfully ignored them. All right, I just shambled forward a little bit more. I was just trying to get up to, because I mean, on this invade scenario, sometimes if you kind of beat them to the middle, it's advantageous to you, especially if you think that your army has a good counter punch and can hold that line or somewhere near that line, because it doesn't take but winning one battle and then moving a die 6 inches forward, and most of your units in that side of the table. So I was trying to get up there to at least get in charge range of just over the middle line, and that's where I'm at right now. That's where I'm getting pretty close to. So he moved forward with his Chimera and was in charge range of Bale. And now Bale's a pretty good guy, but he pretty much ain't going to be able to take down a Chimera. He just doesn't have the swings, doesn't have the he just don't have the. He's just not the same level guy. And his Chimera was decked out with the vicious item, which I think is something to do with hate. And pretty much all it did was move forward. That was his move forward, and then he did shoot and wavered my Abyssal Warlock that was in the field down there again. But I was kind of thankful because by shooting him, who's a regenerating guy with and inspiring, he was ignoring my chaff units, my ghouls that were in front of him, and so that's going to help me later in the game. So in this turn, I just used my nimble move to get out of the arc of the Chimera and fired a lightning bolt at him. I only did 1 wound. My dice were decidedly average to below average this game. Not complaining too much. I mean, they weren't horrible. They just weren't good. But that was it. I mean, I was finally getting to that point now where I could really press the middle, at least on the left side. The right side, he had a speed advantage on me, and all I could really do was just wait and then hopefully get a devastating or just a big move on the last turn to get my unit strength across if he decides to hold back. I think my any one of my units over there could maybe take a charge from something else on that side, but it's real dicey. There's no way of knowing. I mean, I had some inspiring and stuff there, but I don't know. It was just like I said, the right side he had speed advantage, and so I just decided not to stick my face out there. All right, so I forgot to take a picture of Polly's turn 3, but as you can see, my Abyssal Horsemen have ceased to exist. He took a front charge into him with the Chimera, and I thought, really, I mean, there's a damn decent chance with inspiring and stuff that they won't die. But I think he hit with all of his hits and wounded with all of his wounds, and so I was down 10 and just failed and just didn't make the roll. Shooting got my other Abyssal Warlock up to 4. In the middle, after I had to make a decision to try to blunt those Frostfang Riders, so I went ahead and charged the Abyssal Fiend in there, knowing that he was going to die, but that was going to open up a charge with the Molochs. And you can see I pulled Bale down off the hill, and he's lined up on the flank of those guys too. Over on the left side, I went ahead and charged the ghouls, and the reason why is because the most he was going to do is do an overrun. My Molochs had Striders, so they were good to go for to charge them and not be hindered themselves. And so you can see, it's turn 4, and I'm kind of up to the middle of the table where I want to be. So I'm in a pretty good position to do some exploitation in the next couple turns. So in the upper left-hand side, the Abyssal Ghoul survived the countercharge from the Clansmen. I was up to 5 wounds, but I wasn't too bad a shape. And over on the right next to them was another unit of Clansmen that was clear of the woods, and which is a little better charge target. But he killed my other Abyssal Ghoul regiment, and then overran with his Frostfang Lord right up to within an inch of my Abyssal Guard. And I thought I had a flank on him, but after we put the scale, I didn't. I think he was just wide enough for me not to get there. His Frostfang groups went ahead and killed my Abyssal Fiend, and they got to be able to turn away. So he wasn't catching Bale in the flank. He was going to have to take me on a front charge. Down at the bottom right, his Tundra Wolves moved over to the side to score, and then the Hydra had turned around because he was, after he'd blown through that unit, he was out of position. And so I think my Abyssal Warlock had got him up to 5 wounds, which is pretty good. I mean, I wasn't going really good, but it wasn't too bad. But that was the end of Polly's 4. So this is 5. What I did up in the upper left-hand corner is I went ahead and backed the ghouls away from the Clansmen, because I wanted them, because they only hit on 4s, and so I wanted them to, after I rolled to 5s, I mean, that unit was teetering already. As you can see, I did charge my other unit of Molochs and the Abyssal Guard into his Clansmen and got them up to 11. Should have done a little bit more, but oh well. I mean, like I said, my dice were decidedly below average. I'm not horrible, but just not good. And in the very middle, my Abyssal Guard did an outstanding job. I think I hit 12 times on his Lord on a Frostfang and did 5 wounds to him, but he was able to shake it off. Also, right in the dead center, you can kind of see that rock there. The Molochs and Baal went ahead and destroyed that unit of Frostfang cavalry in turn. I contemplated overrunning with Baal, but if I would have rolled a 1, 2, or 3, then his Chimera could have charged me in the rear, and it was dicey. The game was at the dicey point anyway, so I did not want to risk an easy charge for him and an easy breakthrough, because Bale's fairly tough, and even if he takes a bunch of wounds, he should be able to hang one turn with the Chimera, but probably not much longer than that. Alright, this is the final shot of the game. Up in the upper left hand corner, his clansmen eventually got rid of the ghouls, and then on the last turn charged the Molochs in the front. Got him up to 9 wounds, but it wasn't enough to scare them off. The Abyssal Guard just went ahead and moved across the table to score, since it's an invade scenario. He backed off his Lord on the Frostfang, and then I shot a whole bunch of times at my Abyssal Guard and got them up to 6. Over in the very middle, his Chimera was killed. I mean, he charged and got Baal up to 7 wounds, and then the Molochs countercharged them. I don't think I was quite. It's hard to tell on there whether I was quite across the middle of the table. I don't think I was, but at this point I have 3 for the Molochs, 2 for the Abyssal Guard, and then I have Baal. That gives me 3, 4, 5, 6, and he had across the table. He had the 2 units, the 1 unit of elf archers, and then the the Tundra Wolves unit, and so that gave me a slight victory, and a very, very hard fought game. I mean, there were some times in the game that I really thought it was doomed. Alright, here's some final thoughts of this game. This game actually was played very, very quickly, and the reason why was because I didn't want to take too much risk. I had a good all the way across advance. On the right hand side, I was outmatched in speed, so therefore I just kind of held back as long as I could, and just said I figured that 1 unit would die out of those 3 primary units: the Fiend, the Molochs, or the Abyssal Horsemen. And then, but that would allow one of the other 2 to counter whatever that move that was. On the left hand side, I just kind of had like a major infantry advance supported by the Molochs over there, and it worked out pretty well. I mean, if you can see, he has way more unit strength over there, but the Molochs are just a very, very, very potent unit, and they make up for a lot of faults of my other stuff. But the ghouls did great the game, just holding stuff off, and yeah, they died like they're supposed to, but then that opened up some other advances. The plan kind of worked well this game. I mean, I think that what happened was that maybe he didn't move forward enough turns sooner, and that allowed me to kind of charge across the middle, and then just hold him off to get the win. But I mean, it was a very near game. I mean, you saw all the stuff that was happening. I mean, when my Abyssal Horseman went down to 1 shot, I was not happy. But hey, sometimes it's what it is. I mean, I figured that they could take the charge, and when they did, then they would just get annihilated by the counter. But that didn't happen, and so that left a big gaping hole. But in retrospect, it kept his Chimera out of the game for a turn while he, kind of redeployed and had to turn back around to do something because he was facing the wrong direction because of the overrun. Better move may have been just to pivot it instead of overrun, but I don't remember where everything was at the time that happened. But I really like this version of Polly's Army. I don't like the Elf Clansmen. I just don't think they're potent enough. I would drop them for something else. It don't really matter what the else is. I would rather have the guys that hit on 4s and or one good unit of them as opposed to 2. But they did what they're supposed to do. That 1 elf unit on the left flank, inexpensive unit, walks across, gets 2 points for scoring. So yeah, they're not optimum, but on the other hand, they have a role. I mean, they're not going to shoot you off the table, but on the other hand, they're pretty decent at holding an objective or marching across the table to get a point. So I mean, as far as are they optimum, most perfectly powered unit, they're not. But on the other hand, they have a role, and the role they used this game was well because both of the units, the one on the right had made it across the middle line before it died to a lucky shot from one of the Abyssal Warlocks. So, like I said, they have a role, and that role, is just to be chaff or grabbers of things. So, I mean, like I said, they're not optimum, but on the other hand, they did a pretty good job, and they kept wearing out one of my Abyssal Warlocks, but shooting him and shooting him and shooting him. So, still not horrible, but I mean, not great either. But anyway, it was a good game. It was a tight game. I think that my deployment to this game is better than I have been. I really think I should have not put that one Abyssal Warlock out there in the open field. But on the other hand, he took 3 turns of shooting from the 2 bolt throwers and shrugged it off, and finally died on the next one. He didn't regenerate any, but I mean, that's quite a bit of shooting directed at one guy, and he had the warbow too shooting at him. So that that by sacrificing him to be a target, the rest of the guys, the ghouls especially, were able to move forward without being damaged, and that helped a lot.